Hey guys, this is Pombe Ploxy. Today I'll be teaching you about leaderboards in Roblox. So to create a leaderboard in Roblox, first step is to go to the server script service, click on this plus icon and create a script. You can name the script anything as you wish, but it's better to name it in a way that you remember which script does what. So I'm gonna name it as leaderboard. 1 minute. Yeah. Rename leaderboard, blah blah blah. Okay, enter. So this is our script. We are going to remove this code and we are going to type some fresh code. So since I want to create a leaderboard, the first step is to, okay, I'm going to write the steps briefly. This is a comment. This code doesn't execute, by the way. So I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to walk you through the steps. So first step is to detect when the player joins. Whenever a new player joins, you want to, create a leaderboard for them, right? So detect when a player joins. Okay. Step number two is to, once the player joins, you want to create a folder called Leaderstats inside them. So what Roblox does is whenever a new player joins, it checks the player's, object and it searches for a folder named Leaderstats within them. If that folder exists, then it will create automatically the leaderboard according to the values stored in the leaderstat. So this will create a leaderboard. Step three, once you have everything in place, you of course wanna, add some values to your leaderboard. That's the job of the leaderboard, right? You add the values in here. And then step four. Step four is whenever, and you can update the values also. You can update the values too. Right. You can update the values. So I'm going to walk you through step one to step three, updating the values whenever the player joins or whenever certain events happen. I'll teach you in the next video. For now, I'm going to teach you how to make a basic leaderboard with values in it so you can start your project. So uh, I- so let's see how to detect when a player joins. The code for it is game players dot player game.players. What happens is game is this entire game dot players. You access this object over here, or this service rather. Dot player added is an event inside players which should get execute whenever a new player joins. And now you'll ask me, what is an event? So event is anything which executes the code within it whenever conditions are met. For example, whenever a new player is added, player dot added will execute a block of code which we provided. So I'm going to write player added, and to execute a block of code you have to enclose or encapsulate that code within a function. So what happens is this is just a syntax. The code inside this function will be executed whenever a new player joins. So function player. Okay. So what is this player parameter over here? This is a reference to the current player which is joined. So what Roblox does is it will provide us with a reference to the current player joined, because it will be quite difficult if you have multiple players to keep track of. So this player object refers to the recent most player which has joined right now. So what we are going to do is we are going to create a new folder. Local folder is equal to instance.new folder. Yeah, there you go. Instance is essentially object which allows you to create new of anything. You can create a part, you can create a folder, you can create anything using instance.new. So we are going to create a folder. Yes, there you go. Then the next step is to name the folder as leaderstats. Why leaderstats? Because when Roblox wants to create a leaderboard, it'll go to the player object over here and will search for the folder named leaderstats. And based on the values inside the leaderstat, it'll create a leaderboard. So to change the name, you use folder.name is equal to leaderstats. It should be exactly like this. It's Roblox inbuilt code which identifies this folder. So that's why you have to go with this exact format. The script name can be anything, don't you need not worry about it, but this folder name has to be leaderstats. All right. And once the folder is created, You want to parent it to the player. What it does is the current player, the folder is created right now, but it's not inside the current player. So what Roblox is expecting is it's expecting a folder named Leaderstats inside a current player. So we'll parent it as in we'll put this folder inside the current player object who has just joined. Yeah, there you go. Now, to create values in our leaderboard, values as in like whatever stats you have in the leaderboard, you can create separate values for them. So, for example, local wins. Yeah, it's just a value recommended by Roblox. So, local wins. You can again use instance. See, yeah, there you go. Notice the pattern over here. Whenever you want to create anything new, you'll use instance.new. You can create literally anything with it. So, instance.new, that helps us to create a new value. Over here, you have to pass the data type of the value which you're going to use inside the round braces. So if I want, I can, create a bool value, which is a boolean value, true or false, or I can use a string value, or I can use an int value because we are counting the number of wins over here, sorry. So you have an int value, it will create an integer value. Once a value is created, you need to give it some value, right? Dot value is equal to, for now, let's say it's 0. And you need to give it a name. What happens is it will reflect in the stat name up there. You'll understand. I'll show it to you. Dot name. Give it an appropriate name so that the player understands. This is the name which the player sees to your stat. So if you give it like ABC over here, the player would not understand what this stat is referring to. So I'm going to give wins, or you can give trophies, whatever. And once your value is created, this is all the information you need to create a value. Once it's created, you have to again parent it inside a folder this time, which in turn is inside a player. So what happens is Roblox goes inside the player, searches for leader stats, got it. Once it gets the leader stats, it goes inside the folder and searches for this values and creates a leaderboard out of it. So wins dot parent is equal to folder now. And yeah, you can repeat the same process for another parameter kills. Instance.new is equal to int value. Okay, int value over here. You can give it a value. You can again give it a name and again parent it to folder. So let's just use that code. And there you go. Let's just execute it. Yeah, there you go. So what happens is, what Roblox does is, it goes inside the player object. This is our player object. Shaman Pombe is my name. This is a player object. It searches for the leader stat, and inside leader stat will search for the values which it has to put on the leaderboard. Over here, it has wins. First, we have added wins in the code. If you notice, first we added wins, gave it a value 0, gave it a name wins 2. We gave it a name wins. That's the name I was referring to, so the player can see that name. And then kills. Over here, the name is kills and it has the value 0. Now, what if I make the value 10? Let me stop and re-execute this code. There you go. The kills now becomes 10. So to summarize once again, game.players is referring to this players object. Whenever a new player is added, an event is fired called players added. What this event is, what are events? Essentially, they're basically conditions which just execute a block of code within it whenever that condition is true. For example, if a player is added, condition is true, it's going to execute the block of code within it. So to execute a block of code, you have a particular syntax. That code has to be connected to that event using the connect keyword, and you have to encapsulate or enclose the code within this player, within this function to run the code. And Roblox provides us with the player object which you pass within the round brackets over here, which you can use to refer to the current player, the most recent player which has joined. Then we have created a folder called Leaderstats. We have named it. No, we have just created a folder, then we have named it. Then we parented within the current player. Right over here, Shaman Pombe. It has been parented over here. When you parent something, it goes underneath that. So since I have parented Leaderstats to Shaman Pombe, it will go underneath that. Then wins is one of the first values which are created. It's an int value. It has a value 0. The name which has to be displayed over here. And we have again parented it to the current folder referring to the leaderstat folder which we initially put inside the player. Right over here, kills. And similarly, we have got wins. Okay, thanks a lot. This is all I'm going to teach you for now. And in the next video, we'll discuss about how to update these values dynamically. I'm going to teach you various methods which you can implement in your game, using which you can update these values regularly. All right, take care.